What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the It Matters podcast. First and foremost, if you want to show your support, don't forget to subscribe to the Facebook page to stay updated with all the content coming up. Now I'd like to tell you something about my friends at Sneaks. Sneaks is basically all about sneakers. These guys are so passionate about the quality of their products and absolutely in love with sneakers. Each pair of them has its own story and personality. However, they believe that sneakers are often the ones who actually find us and not the other way around. And this is how their story started. Do you want to keep going? Choose sneaks and make the step. Today's guest is an anesthesia and critical care doctor from Elias Emergency University Hospital in Bucharest. Besides his expertise on the field of anesthesia and critical care medicine, he is also a trainer holding several courses for students. For example, basic life support, advanced clinical techniques in anesthesia and critical care, as well as pediatric advanced life support. Currently, he is a member of LifeSim, a medical simulation center in Bucharest, investing his little spare time by passing on medical knowledge to students and helping them develop their skills. His passion and love for medicine couldn't remain unnoticed and materialized in a scholarship at the AIT department of Bichat-Claude Bernard Hospital in Paris, several articles published as well as numerous presentations held at both national and international medical congresses. However, not so many know that he gave up an acting career for the medical one in order to have a greater impact on people. In spite of this, he managed to pursue his love for acting during university when he coordinated the students' drama group. Without further introduction, help me in welcoming the man who plays his drama role on the medical stage with charisma, professionalism, and a never-ending enthusiasm, Dr. Emanuel Moisa. So, hello doctor, welcome to the It Matters podcast. Thank you so much for coming here today.
Hello, thank you for your invitation, I'm honored.
I'm really glad that you really showed your support for the podcast. I mean, you said yes from the beginning when I called you about it.
Yes, because I think it's an interesting initiative and I think we should develop this concept more in Romania.
I have to agree with you on this one. First and foremost, like most of the guests I have, I'd like to ask you, how did you choose your profession and your specialty?
Yeah, this is, I think, an interesting story. Since I was a kid, as long as I can remember, I wanted to be an artist, as I used to say. And by artist, I mean I wanted to be an actor of musicals on Broadway. But I also wanted to be a doctor, and those two things developed since my last year of high school, when I decided that I will be an actor, and I prepared myself for the admission exam on the National Institute of Theatrical Arts. But 2 months before the admission exam, I switched and I decided that I will going to do the medical school, and I did this because I seen, maybe it sounds wrong, but it was not wrong in my thoughts, that going to the theatrical art school will be a selfish act, and I like people a lot. I like to work with people, and that's what made me change my mind. I know in theatrical school you work with people as well, you can have an impact on people's life, but I decided to go to the medical school because I thought I could be able to work more and to have a bigger impact on people's life.
All right, this is an interesting story. I mean, the switch and in such a short time, I think it's quite fascinating. And you managed to enter the medical school, which is not the easiest university out there. So
I started my first year in a non-budgeted place because, well, I studied by myself for 2 months, But after the first year, I was on a budgeted place, and for 4 years I also had scholarship.
Right. Um, when we decided on topics that we are going to debate on the episode, you said something that really stuck in my mind regarding the mentors. Uh, I have to admit that I sometimes think of mentors and the importance of mentorship, but how would you define mentorship and mentors?
A mentor, I will define it as a person that is able to see something in you, but most importantly, someone that believes in you. Of course, if you want someone to believe in you, you have to give them something to believe in. But this is, I think, is mandatory as a first thing, that a mentor will see something in you. And I don't think that everybody is able to find that something, to see in you and to believe in you. And I think this is the factor that affected the way I chose my medical specialty, and everything I do now. It was influenced by the fact that two doctors uh, saw that something in me, and they believed in me.
And so basically, you had been in contact with the mentors. You met them during your university studies.
Yes, it was on the my summer practice after the third year of medical school. There was an European program for counseling and summer practice in anesthesia and critical care. And this is how I met Dr. Nitsu and Dr. Dinu. They were last year residents in anesthesia and critical care, and they were the ones with whom we spent most of our summer practice in this program. And they told us that if you want, you can come with us on the hospital when we are on call. And I started with them, and they believed in me a lot. They taught me a lot, and they were someone worth going for and worth fighting for, because they teach me a lot of things I knew when I started my residency fellowship. And I owe them most of the things I know today.
You're right, and I think it's one of the most important things that you said is that they showed trust. They trusted you. Uh, Maybe with responsibilities during the summer practice. I know.
Yes, because they teach me a lot of maneuvers, and maneuvers in anesthesia and critical care are not easy, and there is big responsibility when performing one. And of course, not only maneuvers, but they gave me a lot of knowledge. And they were always like, for the next time we will see, you have to read cardiac physiology or pulmonary physiology. And they were like questioning me, and I felt it was not like a pressure. It was something that I liked, because I felt that I'm not only going to hospital to take acid-base balance samples, or to perform an orotracheal intubation, or to place a central venous line. It was like I was practicing and I was developing my skills, but I was also developing my knowledge in anesthesia and critical care, which meant a lot to me, because in my practice and in my university years, I was on all the specialties, I saw them, and it was, I think this is very important, to find something that will fit you, something that is right for you, something that you like, because this is what we have to do. You like something that is non-medical or non-surgical, you should perform it. Laboratory medicine, it's perfect. We are not, we should not do something just to prove someone, or to prove something to someone. We are not supposed to be just, I don't know, anesthesia and critical care doctors or neurosurgeons or cardiovascular surgeons. All the specialties are very important, and all of them have their place in medicine, and without them we could not work that well, because this is something that in Romania is not very developed, and it's not very well
The interaction
understood.
between
The
specialties.
interaction between specialties and the fact that the patient is in the center of the attention, and the patient should be our main goal, and that we should cooperate more and more and efficiently
Yeah, in order to help the patient.
in order to help the patient, and not our, I don't know,
Ego.
vanity and
Ego.
ego, of course.
What makes someone a good mentor from your point of view?
A good mentor, first and foremost, has to be a person with a lot of experience and expertise, but not just experience and expertise in just one field, like anesthesia and critical care. Of course, this is vital for us as anesthesia and critical care resident doctors, but to be a mentor, you have to be very experienced in the way you cooperate, in the way you interact with people, in the way you understand and you listen to people, because being a good mentor means not mandatory, but it means that you can be a good leader too. I think it's very important to, as I said earlier, to see that something in people. I think this makes you a good mentor, and to try to develop this, try to bring to the light the best in the people you are mentoring. I think a good mentor is a kind person. He's a kind person. He's a person that believes in you, teaches you, encourages you, but also is rough with you when is the right moment to do it. I think it must be a person that should be very sincere. And when I say sincere, it is very important to be straight and forward with the people. Because you know that quote with follow your dreams. Okay, follow your dreams. This is very okay, but think of that people that go to, I don't know, Romania's Got Talent or X Factor, and they are so worse at singing or so worse at performing something, I don't know, anything. And you say to that person, follow your dreams, you are amazing, you sing amazing. These persons will become delusional at some point. And I think a good mentor is very important at some point to also to bring to the light your flaws and
make you self-aware of yourself.
Exactly, to make you self-aware of what you are. I think this is something that we have not developed in our university and in the medical schools in Romania, because most of the medical students at the end of their studies, they don't really know what they want to do, why they want to do some specialties. They are not guided, and some of them just choose something to prove something to someone. I want to be a surgeon because I want to prove that even women can be good surgeons. I believe that both genders, male and female, can be very good surgeons, very good doctors, no matter the specialty. But even as a male or a female, you don't have to prove something to anyone. You have to do what fits you, what suits you, what makes you happy, and what gives you satisfaction. And it's important to be good at what you are doing, because there are people that are very skillful and they will be very good surgeons, and there are people that are not that skillful and maybe they're not that passionate, but they want to choose surgery, for example, because it's cool, because their family will see them like, I don't know, gods, because most of the people see surgeons as gods. And I think this is very, very wrong. very wrong. And I think that tell you a good mentor should tell you what you are good at, and if something doesn't fit you, they should be sincere with you and help you follow another path. I mean, the right path for you.
Yeah, I think it's quite a common view and approach of this trying to prove things to someone, and I don't know, choosing a specialty just for the sake of proving someone wrong, or for I don't know, feeding your ego. And I think this is quite a problem. I mean,
Yes, just because it's fancy or just because you
yeah,
have a very good grade on the residency exam, you will choose cardiology because it's fancy, and everybody in this country, if you have a very good grade, you will choose cardiology. This is wrong. I mean, it's really wrong. Every specialty is important. Every specialty has its beauty and its advantages and disadvantages, but it is very important to choose being self-aware and of course choosing sometimes with your heart, but there should be a balance between what you desire and what you are able to do, and what are your needs in your life, because some people are able and prefer to spend their maybe their whole time at the hospital, and there are people that they want to spend a lot of time with their families or with their friends or with their partners, to travel a lot, and this is not wrong. It's not wrong at all. Not all of us are supposed to stay at the hospital day and night. It's not mandatory. You should do what makes you happy, but you should choose self-aware, because at some point, some specialties, you will not be able to have this perfect balance. There will not be a perfect balance, and you should be self-aware that you will sacrifice some of the things in your life.
I think that self-awareness is basically the key to, I think, that every choice that we make.
Every choice that we make in life, yes, we should be self-aware,
I mean,
but
if we are self-aware that we are doing something just to prove someone wrong, I think it's okay. Unless you are self-aware that you are doing that just to prove them wrong. And I really think that self-awareness is a skill that we should really master.
yes, we should really master and we should really develop. And I think that most of the things in our life are uh, come from our experience and from our knowledge. It's not that someone that teaches you, but this is a mentor. A mentor is that person that will help you put the things together, will help you realize some stuff. When it comes to medicine, I always say that medicine is like a big, very big ocean full of beautiful sea creatures, and for example, a lot of fish. What brings all those fish together? Because this is how you have the knowledge. You have a lot of knowledge, but what brings it together? And at some point, when you can't find an explanation, when things are not that clear, you have the information, but it's not that clear, here is where your mentor comes, steps in and brings all the things together. It gives you a clearer image, not only on knowledge, but of course on some aspects in life. And this is something that maybe medical students should be aware of, that no one is going to give you knowledge like a bolus with a syringe. No, knowledge is something that you have to develop, to try to
Accumulate.
to accumulate and teach yourself. And a good mentor will help you put all those things together and will sustain you, of course, will help you and will encourage you to carry on.
Unfortunately, I don't think there are a lot of mentors. I mean, I didn't encounter so many people like, let's say, match your description, which I'm in agreement with.
Yes, because unfortunately we are a country still, in my opinion, still in transition. Of course, I didn't live lived in the communism. I can't talk a lot about communism because it's something I didn't experience myself. But I still think we are in transition, and I still think we have a lot of generations that lived in communism. I don't blame them, but they lived with another style. We as generations, we are very different from from the generations that lived in communism and in the immediate period, and there are some huge gaps between us. There are huge levels of perception, of the way of thinking, the way of feeling, the way of being hurt, or being feeling content of something. And I can't blame them at all because they lived in these times, and I think it's very complicated to educate and to change a lot of someone's personality. Well, psychiatry and psychology say, personality, the structure of personality is molded, is shaped until 24, 25. But in medicine, for example, I think that a dysfunctional adult will form a dysfunctional adult as a doctor, has behavior, can lead to other dysfunctional adults and future specialist doctors too, because some people are not that powerful. They don't have the skill to just ignore or to not suffer. And if someone is dysfunctional in behavior with them, maybe they will be dysfunctional too as behavior with their residents, with their other colleagues. And this is a problem where the doctors that are older than us, the doctors that have, I don't know, 45, 50, 60 years now, and they always tell you, when I was a resident doctor, you cannot imagine what I've suffered and how they treated us and how they spoke with us and how hard times we had when we were resident doctors. And I'm always like, okay, I'm sorry for what happened to you. I'm sorry that residency was something kind of traumatic for most of them, and it really was, and times were really hard. But you should not continue to do this with us. If you didn't like it, stop doing it.
Yeah.
Stop making this, because you will make future generations of dysfunctional and unlikable future specialists and senior doctors. So this is something that really continues to affect most of the resident doctors in Romania. I don't know how it is in other countries, if things are different, but in order to be a good mentor, you should leave the ghosts of the past and to be able to not to do what traumatized you and what was bad for you, to stop doing it, and from this to learn and to make gold from garbage, and to have perfectly functional and good future specialist doctor.
Well, and I think that what you said some people use that let's say traumatic period of their lives as an excuse, because there are others that lived in the same periods and maybe had an even more traumatic experiences that managed to overcome them, and now they basically leveled that gap.
Yes, of course.
So it can be done.
Yes, it can be done, but as we know, as doctors, we know that some people can cope very well with stress, can cope very well with trauma, and that everybody's this luggage, this psychological baggage is more developed, more stronger in some than in others, and some of them coped very well with this. In a specialty like anesthesia and critical care, where the level of stress is at a very, very high level, it's stressful because of the cases, because of the complexity of the patients, because of the emergencies. But when you work even in a more stressful environment because of the behavior of your seniors, I think some will not will not be able to cope anymore. And you cannot blame them because, some people are stronger and some are not. And this is something we must understand. But we should be able not to blame them, but to help the ones that are not that stronger and are not able to cope with this. I think we should treat people with whom we interact like individuals and not to try to make a general statement about people, because everybody is unique, everybody reacts in its own way, and I think we all are vulnerable to something. All of us are vulnerable to something. And I think we as human beings, all of the human beings are corruptible. I think we all are corruptible, and this corruptible part comes from our vulnerability.
Yeah, our Achilles heel.
Yes, I think everybody has it. Some people have more flaws, more parts that are vulnerable, others not. Some mask it very well, and some not. But I think in the end, at the most basic level, some are stronger and some are not. But the ones that are stronger should help those that are not.
Yeah, we are totally on the same page here. As you may know, in the last episode, I had also an anesthesia and critical care doctor, and we also talked about competition and this state of competitivity, which is not, let's say, understood from a point of view of progression, or from the point of view where you use this type of competition in a more productive way. How would you balance the pros and cons of competition in a workplace? Your workplace being, of course, your specialty.
I listened to that podcast and what Dr. Popescu said, and I remember the example with the colleague that is now an obstetrician, as I remember. And I briefly had the opportunity to meet Dr. Popescu, and he's highly appreciated in our field. I should say that competitivity should be first and foremost one with us, with ourselves, not with our colleagues. When I was in my high school years, I used to have very good grades and I used to learn a lot. But my mother was always kind of tough woman, and she always told me, okay, you've got an A, which means a 10 in Romania. Yeah. Well, you've got the highest mark you could get. I'm proud of you, I'm happy for you, but always remember that there is someone that is better than you. At some point it was like hurtful sometimes, because I was like, okay, you are very cheerful, but I understood her that when you have achievements, at some point maybe you will develop your ego way too much. When you are in your teenage years, maybe this can happen easily, and it is very okay to develop your self-esteem, to be self-aware, to be proud of who you are at least, but this doesn't have to slip into a pathological side. And what my mother always told me, even in my university years, was, I'm proud of you, I'm happy for you, but keep that in mind, there is always someone that is better than you, and you should be self-aware of this, and you should never develop envy on that person. You should always, if you want, try to be better. But even if you will be better than that person that was better than you, there will always be another one that is better, and so forth. And my mother teach me to be competitive, but to stand still, to be as moral as I can be, and I don't know, to not do bad things, stupid things, just because of the competitivity, and to take care of myself. This is a thing I didn't listen to way too much, and I think we as doctors, we don't take care of ourselves very well because of the exhaustion, because of the so much of the time that we spend so much in the hospital and studying and night shifts and stuff like this. I don't think we take care of us, because this is not okay. It's not healthy. It's not a healthy practice. But competition should be first and foremost with us, and we should accept our fails. We should be cheerful and happy and proud of our achievements, and we should be very honest with ourselves. I've got I don't know, a C plus because I studied for a C plus. I've got an A plus because I studied for an A plus. But I can always be better. I can always improve. We should not find someone to blame always for our fails. Of course, sometimes we fail because we can fail because of someone. It can happen, of course, but most of the time I think if we look deeper in our behavior and what we did, I think we can find the problem. Competition with other colleagues, this is very important. I always liked to be with the best of people around. I always like to have the smartest around, the most skillful around, and I always loved that. Because they always made me be a better person. But I never felt it like envy. I never felt it like, I don't know, I hate them, or I don't know, it makes me frustrated. Of course, sometimes I met people that smart and that skillful that I was like, wow, and I was like, I don't think I will ever be like them or that good. But I always like to be around these people, because these people inspired me. These people helped me be a better person and to develop my skills, my knowledge. But I never saw it like that kind of bad competition, that kind of being happy that some of them failed, or that I got a better grade, or I was, I don't know, better at a maneuver. Um, Unfortunately, competition in the medical field, it's not that productive most of the time, because as I said, in the medical field there is a lot of vanity, a lot of ego, and in anesthesia and critical care, unfortunately, we should prioritize all the time. I think this is one of the keywords, priority, and we should always work as a team, because it's a specialty where you have to call for help always. You cannot perform maneuvers and the things only by yourself. You always need a team, and unfortunately, in anesthesia and critical care and in surgery, I think the level of competition is maybe the highest. And of course, there will be people that will develop envy. There will be people that will not be happy that you are maybe more skillful than them, or maybe you have more knowledge than them, or maybe you are more charismatic than them. And some people will not like you just because of this, because some people, this is how they see competition. They don't want to take that part of not being that skillful or that smart and try to develop themselves. They just want to be better than you, maybe not better than you, but try to take you apart, to not be a part of that place anymore. And unfortunately, this thing happens most of the time. It happened to me too, when, well, since I was doing all my summer practice, and not the summer practice, even in the university years, I was in practice all the time and going on calls 2-3 times a week and sleeping at the hospital more than in my dorm room. Of course, I developed some skills, and of course, I started the residency with some advantages compared to other residents in my year or other years. And of course, I felt that, and I had colleagues that were not that nice, were not saying nice things, were trying to blame me for things that went wrong for them, and that was because of me. But I think this will happen all the time, and people will always have something to say about you, regardless you are doing it good or bad. People will always have something to say, and as I said, people are corruptible. There will always be, as in Harry Potter says, there can be no light without the dark. Myself, I always try to live within the light. Bad and good things will happen all the time. It's utopic to think that everything will be amazing, and if we have good mentors, people will be all good. No, good and bad existed since, I don't know, since the earth exists. People were good and bad, and they will always be. There will not always be just happy people, good people, productive people. No, this is utopic, and that's who we are.
Yeah, and starting from what you said, that the only competition you should have is with yourself. I've been, I don't know, let's say, feeling and practicing it, if I can call it that way, for, I don't know, for some years, starting with my high school and let's say half of my university, when I went on that pathological way of competition, but not being envious of people. I was always comparing with other people, and I was unable to live the moment and to take that joy from my achievements, because looking at others, I said, okay, what I did is crap. Look at what that guy did. I mean, this is nothing. Although for me, looking strictly to myself, it was quite an achievement, but I couldn't get any joy of it by comparing with someone. And I was not envious. I was just maybe frustrated, maybe disappointed with myself, and basically I could get no good thing and about my achievements. And they weren't that much, but there were some from which I didn't get 100%.
I understand you very well because I experienced this myself, and some I even now experience this because I always tend to do things very well, and I always tend to perfection, and I'm happy with my achievements, but I always say that I can do better, that I can be better, that I always find something that was wrong. And I mean, I try to be self-aware, and I try to be thankful, but in the meantime I try to be realistic. I cannot say that I always behaved well, that my reactions were always the best. I can say that I was competitive always in the good way, or that maybe I didn't say something wrong, or that I bothered some of my colleagues, that I was wrong in my behavior with my colleagues. Yes, it happened. I think these things happen to all of us. I think we should be aware of this. I think we should not hide this, because it's part of us, and I think it's part of our experience, and it shapes us. And if we did it, and if it will repeat, because of course it will repeat in this life, we will be wrong every time. We will do something that will be wrong at some point. We should be self-aware, and we should excuse us. We should be sincere,
time,
and we should say it. I'm sorry, I did that wrong, and I'm sorry I did that to you. I think we should be able, and we should have the power to recognize this.
and to assume our faults.
Yes. Yeah, to assume everything that is about us. I think this is a problem nowadays. People are not assuming themselves, their personality, their choices, their everything they are. When you assume everything you do, from your lifestyle to your, I don't know, your job,
Yeah,
I think life it's better, and you will have better relationships and better interactions with people.
and you can change your, I don't know, yourself as a whole by assuming that, that in every situation that you are involved, there is something that is strictly related to you. I mean, there is that something that you could or could not have done, and that could change the outcome of the situation
Of course, and it is very important, no matter what you are, it doesn't matter how you are, what do you want to do in life. The most important thing is you can be as you are, believe in what you want to believe. But the most important thing, I think, is to not directly do something bad to other people. If you do not do directly something bad to other people, then it's perfectly fine. Be whatever you are, do whatever you want. It's perfect if you are happy. It doesn't matter that I don't like that thing or I would not do it in my life or something like this. It's not about me, it's about you.
Yeah.
And people should assume themselves, should assume their choices and everything they do. And if they are happy with this, that's perfect.